The NFL stands for not for long.
Set, Sharga and Armstead. Roll out, Walker still running out. Looks to the left, wide open, Thompson touchdown. Colin Thompson with the touchdown. There was nobody within 20 yards of
What a catch off the bobble. Colin Thompson scoops it up.
Lofting corner, the end zone. It is caught for the touchdown. The first NFL touch for Colin Thompson is a score.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the Colin Thompson Show. Yoni Rosenblatt is joining us today. Good friend of mine from True Sports PT. Great guy. Everything we do here is brought to you by, presented by Not For Long Media, brought to you by the original Fudge Kitchen, fudgekitchens.com. They ship fudge and sweet treats across the country. They are your go-to holiday shopping gift, other than the normal cliche gift that you are going to pass along to your family this year, like some gift card or some whatever. Buy your family a taste of the Jersey Shore. Fudgekitchens.com. They ship it across the country if you can't get down there. I can't wait to get down to Cape May this weekend. Try some of the creamy fudge myself. Yoni joins us today to talk all things Aaron Rodgers. A lot going on there with the Achilles thing. Everyone's like, why is he back early? This is a Houdini act. Yoni doesn't think so. He's going to give you guys the inside knowledge on it. I hope you guys enjoy the episode with Yoni. He's got a wealth of knowledge. This is a guy who's really had a huge impact on my career when I had my calf issues last year, my final year in Carolina. So without further ado, send it over to Yoni at True Sports, a great guy, super smart, great friend of mine. I think you guys are really going to enjoy just a quick little episode talking about all things Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay Packers. New York Jets, my bad. All right, so we're joined by a good friend and someone I work with on a weekly basis. Sometimes he blows me off. Sometimes he texts me back. We don't know. Guy's super busy. Yoni Rosenblatt, True Sports Performance, the best PT around. How you doing, pal?
Doing great. We now call it True Sports Physical Therapy. So let's live there, Colin.
Wait,
it's not a change. We've always been True Sports Physical Therapy.
Really? Do I always call it performance?
Yes. You also always say Rosenblatt, and it's Rosenblatt.
Okay. All right, you're still my friend, though, so I'm doing something right. That's because I pay you. I pay you for our friendship. I pay you for our visits.
Yes.
That's okay. Cheap for sure. How are things in your world, my friend?
Things are awesome. Living the dream, working with great athletes like yourself every single day. What do I have to complain about?
Oh, look at you. You're the best. All right, so there's a lot to talk about, but I'm having you on in particular for one reason, and that's to talk about these injuries around the NFL. One in particular, Aaron Rodgers. There's tons to unpack. I don't know where to go, but I want you to articulate to our fans, just in the maybe not the deep-rooted, blow my mind world, the nerd out world of the terms and all that, but like why is the surgery different than the rest? Why is he coming back soon?
Yeah, I'll make it really simple. The surgery he had bolts down the tendon into the back of his heel, into a bone called his calcaneus, and it's a really secure fastening of the tendon into the bone, and so they heal much quicker. You don't have to worry about re-rupturing early on in the rehab process because it is bolted down securely. He avoids a lot of boot time, which is the real hurdle you got to get over when you're rehabbing. And so we expect Aaron Rodgers to be back far quicker than, say, a Kevin Durant, who ruptured higher up the tendon, takes a lot longer to heal. That being said, he's still ahead of schedule. I mean, he's pushing really hard, obviously, to get back. So him revealing that he's going to be back practicing with the team is not a shock. Colin, you know as well as anyone else that there's so many different levels of practice. So what Aaron has really said is he's going to put cleats on and he's going to start throwing to some teammates.
Really well said. I think that's it, right. He's out there. He's doing as he really what he wants to do. He's a veteran. He's not like working. I'm sure he's working with trainers and he's probably getting taped up a certain way to help maybe deviate some of that stress on that back of the Achilles area. They're getting him out there throwing the ball a little bit. You know, the nice thing for him mentally too is like he's out on the field. I think that's something that people don't talk about in these, you know, oh, he's out 4 to 6 weeks. Great, he's back. Like, yeah, for your fantasy football team, but not for real life. Like Yoni's job and like great PT's jobs are like getting you mentally okay with the fact that there's going to be some discomfort. But that's a part of this journey, and you need to get back around your peers and friends and do it. And I think that's really key for him to come back, even as a veteran who could play with his eyes closed. to be able to go out there and be around the bend and the guys and hang out and chop it up and sweat and grind a little bit. I think that's huge. So what's next for him in these 3 weeks? Obviously, there's going to be a ramp-up period, I would assume.
Yep. And so he's probably going to start with individuals. He's going to be throwing routes, just like we've seen him throwing routes during warm-ups. But he's going to both get the psychological advantage, but also get some of that timing back. So a lot of this is physical. He's going to understand his drops. He's going to understand the routes he's throwing to. They'll start ramping up speed, and then they'll start adding pieces around him over these 3 weeks to start to mimic gameplay. So he'll probably do individuals. He'll probably do 7v7. Then they'll ramp it up to full squad, just like you've seen a number of times. And you better believe he's going to be wearing that red jersey until he probably takes his first snap under the lights.
Yeah, so they've activated the 21-day period where he can come off IR. There's a whole numbers game in the NFL, right, where he can come back and he's a part of the roster, but he's not a part of the roster. It's a whole thing. So for Aaron, right, he's going to, what's this look like? What Yoni was getting into, right, the indie drills. So he's going to be out there, little 3-step drop, boom, throw a slant. Little 3-step drop, boom, throw this. He may do that the first day, just maybe like 10, 20 throws. And then he may do some like tempo running to get some volume up. And how do you feel? And what's like, has he even sprinted yet?
So he probably has done some sprinting. It was probably in an altered G, so decreased body weight, and he's working on sprinting because your gait pattern is going to change. It's going to be far more forefoot strike when you're sprinting, which puts a lot more pressure on the Achilles. So he's probably doing that at a decreased body weight. He's probably jogging full body weight. And so you'll start playing with those levers to progress that accordingly. So he'll do that over the next few days. And then if they're smart, they are timing his on-field progression process with what he needs to be doing in the training room, in the weight room, trying to get that strength back, get the size back of the calf, which is going to support your Achilles. That will be happening in tandem. And as your performance ramps up, so your on-field stuff ramps up, you'll start kind of titrating down the dosage and the load inside the weight room so that he can optimize his return to sport. When you mentioned taping it up a certain way, that's exactly what I would be doing. Like if I was putting this guy back this early, I'd be putting a heel lift into a shoe. So his heel is a little bit elevated, less stress coming down on the Achilles. I would be limiting his rollouts, and I would even more so gauge what percent of effort are you taking on that step back. I'm actually more worried about that drop back or that first burst of speed coming out of the pocket than I would be doing anything else. So I would want to make sure that those are not max effort until they absolutely have to be.
What is he doing outside of that building for recovery?
So I have no intimate knowledge of what Aaron Rodgers is doing. Here's what I would be doing if a player was coming to see me outside of the building, which happens pretty often. I would be spending a lot of time with electric stim on his calf while he's doing exercises. So even if it's a heel raise, if it's a balance activity, I'm making sure that his brain is able to talk to that calf muscle appropriately. When you sever the connection point between a muscle and a bone, which is the tendon that he ruptured, the brain's ability to control the contractility or the ability to contract that muscle goes to hell. The way you wake that up is putting electric stim on and forcing that muscle on. So he's doing that with me every time I see him. I am totally isolating the ankle. And so I did this earlier this morning with an NFL player who's coming back from an Achilles rupture. I will strap down the leg to the table. He can't move anything else except the ankle, and I'll have him move through different exercises. So he's totally isolating. And then we want to merge that isolation into a more holistic approach where I'm asking all the muscles of the leg to work appropriately. Most importantly, the posterior chain, as we call it in the biz, which is comprised of his glute, his butt muscle, his hamstring, which is back of the leg, his calf, all that line down the back of the leg. I want to load the hell out of that. So I'm doing things like RDLs, or I'm doing things like hamstring curls or heel elevated bridges, balance activities, so that he's using those muscles. I'm doing those every day. I'm doing something called blood flow restriction training. I would put money on Rodgers spending a long time with that. That's when you put a tourniquet up above or around the upper leg, and it totally cuts off what's called venous return. So it keeps a lot of blood in the leg, and the leg has to work much harder That helps muscle grow quicker. And then I'm treating the symptoms as they show up. If he's got a tight joint, I'm stretching the hell out of it. If he's got a loose and weak joint, I'm spending more time doing stability. What we do is really simple. And I'm probably spending 3 hours or so a day if he's coming to see me outside of the facility.
And he's unique too in a way because it's a quarterback who he's probably going to be not under center a ton. He's probably going to be in shotgun, catch, hand the ball off, move on, catch, plant, throw.
Yep.
Like if you're under center back in the day, you got to take a 3, 5, 7-step drop, and you are wailing on that back calf to drive forward and send the ball down the field. But it's changed now. You could throw a screen from shotgun. The game is really meant for the quarterback, if he can run, to run and create advantage. But really, like you've seen Lamar, he gets the ball and boom, that ball's out of his hands, and it's to Zay Flowers, and they're running the screen. And Aaron's so smart, he has that impact. Really, for my next question is like, but what is he doing off the field? Like, is he hyperbaric chamber? Is he getting 12 hours of sleep? Like, do you think he's diving into all that stuff, or he's just living his normal life? I think why he's coming back like this is he's probably on a crazy sleep schedule. Like, I'm going to sleep 10 hours a night. I'm going to take what it takes to get to that 10. Like, I think that stuff matters. Like, I wish I did that and had the discipline for it. I can't. And that's been my Achilles heel, if you will. But, I think there's something there. He's definitely doing that. Do you think that plays a difference? I mean, it has to. That's the only way you're recovering is if you're sleeping.
I think he's pulling every lever he can. If I'm him, and it sounds like he's a worker, so I'm sure he is. So you better believe he's getting as much sleep as possible. I'm sure his sleep hygiene is off the charts. I'm sure he's doing hyperbaric stuff. There are studies that support hyperbaric chambers and its ability to certainly wound heal, potentially increase vascularization. So it's going to increase blood flow in those areas. He's also probably maxing out his nutrition, right?
Yeah.
So increasing his protein intake. I'm sure he's supplementing with creatine and whatever else he thinks is going to be a performance enhancer. So I'm sure he's, filling all those buckets.
Yeah, that's people assume that just so everyone's like, what do you mean? Of course he's doing that. And that's why Yoni's not saying that either. But people assume that's how the rest of the NFL is. Listen, the NFL players are just like everybody listening to the show. They want to stay up a little later and watch another episode. They want to eat a bag of chips. They want, like, it's just fact. Everybody's like, when it gets cold outside, they want to like order a pizza and like sit in. Like, that is there's normal people that just happen to be freakishly gifted and talented and work their ass off at their goals. So,
well, I'll tell you what's interesting here is it's such a short window, and because he had the lesser of two evils with the surgery that allows for a quicker return, he's able to stay hyper focused. I would bet far easier than someone who had a standard Achilles repair, because now you're looking at 9 months. And yes, football players are human, but the ability to focus in short term, you guys do that routinely. Month 4, 5, 6 of this rehab process gets freaking old. So I think Aaron's at, it's a benefit that he doesn't have to grind through those.
Here's the next question. He comes back, great. He's healthy, he gets through the year, great. What does the offseason look like for him? Because it's not normal. You got to probably pick up back on your rehab. Like, you're going to be rehabbing through this whole process. It's not going to be a normal week-to-week thing for Aaron. This isn't an ankle sprain where you can just put your foot up in the meeting room and you're doing good.
No, here's what you do. As soon as that season's over, and it might be over quicker than he would like, given their performance, immediately I'm working him through what we call periodization. So he's got to be ready for camp come April, right? And so the first
not even. He's going to be ready for camp come August.
Oh, so come August. Okay.
But
so,
April, normal world, for guys that aren't guaranteed money, guys like me, I need to show up and my ass needs to be in shape. Yeah.
Right. So that's not Aaron Rodgers. But I'm spending the first 6-8 weeks lifting heavy, just trying to put mass on. And the reason I'm doing that is because that's when I want to lay that foundation so that once that leg gets nice, bulky, and can support the weight and force, now I start ramping up towards sport specificity. So then after 2 months, now we start working on some of that pop, right? We start incorporating a little bit more speed drills and stuff like that so that we can progress all the way towards, call it summer. All things are football related. So everything is explosive. Everything is being timed down to how long is a standard down in the NFL, call it 8 seconds. Yep. You're working really hard for 8 seconds, resting for 25, 30. Again, hard for 8. That's what that end stage should look like. And so we have to prepare him for that by ramping up accordingly.
Yeah, he's a mobile quarterback. He's always has been. He can throw with crazy arm angle, and that has to do with a lot of lower body health, in my opinion. He
Sure.
can get different. You see Patrick Mahomes when his hampered on the high ankle sprain last year, he wasn't the same guy. Now he still could throw, but he can't get in those positions to make
Yep.
those throws. It's unique too with Aaron. Like he's not going to be doing a lot of running. It's really not. So like,
No, but I think he becomes. I mean, what he'll be amazing at is finding his spots, putting his body where it needs to, and he has this, an arm of a god that he can kind of fall back on. He's just going to look a little bit different. It'll be a little less explosive. And by the way, as a 37-year-old quarterback, that looks a lot different than when he was a 30-year-old quarterback.
yeah, he's something else. He's, do you believe in ayahuasca?
I don't think there's anything to believe in or not believe in. The question is, do I believe that it's going to make him a better athlete? I think it's not going to make him a worse athlete. How's that?
There you go. That was a good answer. We got a little political answer out of you, but that was more than I thought.
I hang out with a lot of lawyers.
At True Sports Physical Therapy,
Oh,
not performance.
no.
Where do you have locations?
Yes. The answer to that is yes.
Go through them.
We're throughout the state of Maryland. We're in Pennsylvania. We've been in Delaware now for a few months. And we're looking at all surrounding areas. We're going to open up a new clinic in downtown Baltimore in Q1 2024. We just opened up in Frederick, Maryland. So we're both in the city. We're in suburbia. Wherever athletes are, that's where you will find True Sports in the DMV.
I love it. I'm trying to think of a good story in closing here that you could talk about. Talk about where we were at. We did rehab on Thanksgiving Eve, the church.
I had the pleasure of rehabbing one of the best athletes I've ever worked with down in Fells Point, which is that was our first location. It's a 200-year-old Polish Orthodox church that has been converted into a fitness facility.
So cool.
Yeah, it's beautiful. You got 50-foot ceilings with stained glass windows, tons of history in there. Season 2 of The Wire was filmed in there, surrounded by outstanding culture and obviously athletes. And that's where True Sports got its start. I spent a lot of time sleeping on those treatment tables after late night sessions, preparing for early ones the next day. And it was awesome to have Colin Thompson down there and show him around Baltimore City.
Nothing better than an hour drive just to come hang with you, Yoni.
Worth it.
Listen, I wanted to just touch on Aaron Rodgers. I think he's polarizing. He's a hot topic, and there's always a lot to talk about with him and the Achilles, which has been, and that's what I'll leave you with this. And here's the question. I'm going to ask, why has that been the injury of the year this year in the NFL?
I think we've got athletes that are producing more and more force than we've ever had. The Achilles is a primary force producer and absorber. And honestly, maybe this is a little bit of a controversial response. I'm not convinced that the NFL performance and rehab has kept up with this level of athlete. And I think taking a more holistic approach to these athletes, understanding tendon health, the way we see in rugby, in Australian rules football, where you have these massive men that are still able to produce and perform with endurance activities. I think stealing from some of that knowledge base and applying it to the NFL, an American sport, will set these franchises and organizations ahead. And it could be one reason we're seeing the NFL fall behind a little bit there.
Interesting stuff. That's a really good one. And there's a lot to dive in on there. We're going to see how it all pans out. But Jordan Phillips just blew his Achilles, Kirk Cousins. There's the DB in Buffalo. I mean, there's a lot. And there usually always is, but it's been now like Pro Bowlers. So everybody's taking more note than normal. So the great Yoni Rosenblatt.
Bam.
True Sports Physical Therapy.
Physical therapy.
Appreciate you coming on, my friend. Have a good one.
We'll do it again soon. Thanks, Kyle.